In here we have Member Stryker, myself. Okay, Acting Staff Sergeant Vandertuin, Acting Inspector McTaggart, Superintendent Doonan, Cindy Stevenson, and we're not sure if Member Brown is on his way or not, but and then Member Boudreau, he's coming in the parking lot. Member Boudreau has a conflict and he'll try and join us, but likely it won't be till after 10 at the earliest. So that's kind of the shifting shells of everybody today. So we'll do our best. Good morning. So we'll get started. Spencer's taken attendance, and we have our agenda in front of us today. Any additions to the agenda before we move to approve it? Jim at the front. If none, then we'll seek a motion then for the approval of the agenda. Mayor Bailey, and seconded by Councillor Pierce. All those in favor? And that's carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest, if any. Seeing none. We have no delegations, petitions, or presentations today. So we'll get right into the adoption of the minutes from our February 25th meeting. Everybody's had a chance to review those. Any errors or omissions? Okay, so then we'll have a motion then to approve those minutes. Member Brown, seconded by Mayor Bailey. Okay, thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Any business arising from the minutes? Councillor Pierce, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Madam Chair. Just through you to Acting Inspector McTaggart in regards to the, we spoke last meeting in regards to the overall patrol classifications, and we were going to look for a little bit more detail. I'm just wondering, has there been any discussions had as to how we're going to go forward with that?
Good morning, Councillor Pierce. In regards to the question you have again, can you maybe just fill me in exactly what you're referring to?
Yeah. So remember, we were talking about with the new reporting format, we'll call it. And before we used to get a breakdown of for patrol classifications and patrol like in the east or in the west and that sort of thing. And I'm just I thought there was going to be some discussions and potentially getting a little bit more breakdown on that, because in the report itself, like it's got the total number of hours, but there's no breakdown as to where those hours are, what they are, that type of thing.
Through the chair, yes, thanks, Councillor Pierce. In regards to the service delivery model, that was what I spoke to in our last meeting. I thought it would be prudent to provide a fulsome presentation to the board on our next meeting.
Okay.
That would give me enough time to put together some speaking notes, as well as bring some something here to show the board exactly what I'm referring to. So if you're good with that, that was my intention for our next meeting.
Absolutely, that works for me. Thank you.
Any other business arising from the minutes? Okay. Then we'll move into number 7. And I should also have welcomed Superintendent Doonan here more formally. Apologies for that, but thank you for coming. Many of you may have met Superintendent Doonan, got to get my tongue twisted the right way, previously, and if you haven't, we'll have an opportunity to hear from her more. We're going to have an in-camera session later on this morning, and but she's part of the West Region Command team, and obviously works with Acting Inspector McTaggart and his team as well. So we'll have a chance to hear more from you in a bit. But we'll carry on with the Detachment Commander's report. So I'll turn it over to our Acting Inspector McTaggart for that.
Thank you, Chair Haley. I'll start the report off by reporting on our motor vehicle collisions by type. For the month of February, fortunately, we did not have any fatal injuries. We had 9 personal injury collisions and 59 property damage. In relation to the personal injury, there is a small increase over this time last year by a total of 3. and year to date we are up 8. So I know I did speak on last month's report on potential causal factors why it's seeing that increase, and with February being our traditional winter from years past, I do feel that the increase we're seeing is in relation to the weather conditions the motoring public is being faced. So I'm not too concerned with those increases, but just for the board's awareness, that is my opinion as to the increase we're seeing on the personal injury. Again, moving along to criminal code and provincial statute charges late for the month of February. We had 16 criminal code non-traffic, 14 criminal code traffic, 443 Highway Traffic Act, 4 Liquor License Act, and 34 under other violations. And as you can see as well, we had an increase over this time last year in the criminal code traffic, which is probably the impaired driving side of the house, which we have seen in past reports. We continue to combat and work strategically with our members of Detachment to position them well to combat the impaired driving that we're seeing increase on month after month. In relation to year-to-date charges, as you can tell, our Highway Traffic Act charges have increased over this time last year. And I spoke on our traffic management unit, the 2 members that are currently in that unit, PC Hall and PC Parker, of which PC Parker is very passionate about his Part 1 speeding tickets. So that's the increase we're seeing there as well. And if we break down our big 4 for the month of February, 218 speeding tickets. There were no seat belts. We did have 10 impaired drivers and 1 distracted driving. I'll move ahead to violent crime. Sexual assaults, we saw 1 for February. 5 related to assault firearm related offenses, which was down from this time last year. And other offenses involving violence or threats of violence, 2. For a total year to date of 15 assaults and firearm related offenses. Again, looking at this time last year, we are up 3 occurrences overall, hence the 25% increase. And like I said, I did look at those occurrences, and those are completely or fall under the level 1 assaults, which in the violence is on the low side, but nonetheless occurring here in Brant. Moving along to property crime. We had 3 break-inners, 9 theft over 5,000, 4 theft under 5,000, 1 possession trafficking stolen goods, 6 frauds, and 6 mischiefs for the month of February. And I spoke as well on our last meeting about our community street crimes unit and the great work they're doing in combating these theft over 5,000. So if you notice the theft over 5,000 for the month of February versus year to date, there's an increase. So that goes to speak to the good work that our units are doing in combating these thefts. Specifically, we are seeing a lot of recoveries when it comes to commercial motor vehicles and those trailers, which contain numerous thousands of dollars of product inside. So kudos to our street crimes unit. And then our frauds are down considerably as well. And I did speak to this last as well about the integrated fraud awareness and response initiative that the West region is currently taking on and doing better to inform the public of the scams that are currently happening out there as well. And PC Bucher continues to do some great messaging from the media side. Drug crime, we did not have any drug charges for the month of February. And then year to date, we have a total of 3 trafficking charges. Again, that speaks to our community street crime unit as well and the work they're doing with not only property but also drug prevention. Moving along to public complaints. We did not have any public complaints for the month of February and 1 overall year to date. Our daily activity reporting to Councillor Pierce's point speaks to the service delivery model, specifically cruiser patrol hours. To date, we've had 1,344 hours of cruiser patrol, which has been up over years past, which specifically speaks to the service delivery and our members' ability to account for their time more accurately through that model. So again, I hope to provide a fulsome explanation in our next meeting to the board so that everybody understands where we're capturing those numbers and why we're seeing an increase on them. Youth charges. In February, we did not have any youth charges per se. I'm just going to refer to our school resource officer for PC Conrad Vitalis. He reporting on 32 youth-involved occurrences ranging between criminal code, provincial offenses, domestic and family disputes, mental health, and police-related calls. We had 29 occurrences that were, of those 29 occurrences, 2 of them were the online component, which everyone is aware of, that we now have that piece through organizations where people can report crimes online. PC Vitalis has continued to make regular visits to our Paris District High School through Grand Erie School Board, which has been very welcoming and accommodating for him, and did a online safety presentation to 500 students in grade 9 and 10. He also attended the Onondaga Brant, Paris Central, North Ward, and Oakland, Scotland public schools to deliver the kids program to 5 classes, and also response to some cyberbullying incidents. He held the online safety and cyberbullying presentations at North Ward with grades 7 and 8. And he also presented a social media safety to Holy Family students at the Children's Safety Village of Brant. Moving along, mental health occurrences. So year to date, actually for February, we had 24. I believe that's what's in there. And year to date, we've had 58. And I know mental health is a priority with our organization as well as the county. We are seeing these numbers rise year over year, and I can speak to some involvement I have, as well as Chair Haley, regarding our involvement with the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. Both of us are on the planning committee moving forward for our next cycle, and mental health is definitely a priority with that committee, and as well as we're providing as much information as we can to try to understand and put resources in place for those members that we're seeing in crisis, and better positioning ourselves to address those individuals and eliminate any barriers that we're seeing with that. And then like I said, we break down those mental health occurrences for February to assist other police agency, attempt, threat, or suicide, domestic dispute, Mental Health Act, person well-being checks, and police information. For that added to our total of 24 for the month of February. And speaking to our community involvement, community mobilization officer, which is PC Murphy, and she was here for our last meeting to provide some information to the board on her role. So in regards to her report, our MCERT worker, who we partnered with SOAR, responded to 5 crisis calls. And then as a result, we also had 20 new COAST referrals for follow-up. There were 6 apprehensions, and 4 were admitted to hospital and 2 were released. Total time spent in the emergency room with apprehensions was 12 hours and 7 minutes times 2 officers. The mean time in the emergency room was 2 hours and 1 minute. And time in the emergency room ranged from 46 minutes to 4 hours and 30 minutes. Our Brant Youth Academy 8-week program continued at this point, and PC Murphy continues to be an integral part of that program. She continues to provide some final planning and wrap up on year 3 of our community safety and policing grant. She attended a planning session regarding Safe at Home program, and I asked her what the Safe at Home program was, and she indicated it's a grant to help victims stay in their home with their families. So she continues to partner with Nova Vita on that. She attended an anti-human trafficking conference and several meetings with speaking presentations, and she continues to work with MCERT, our MCERT worker, and CMHA court supports on services and responses to some persistent callers that we're seeing. So some great work by our community mobilization officer, PC Murphy. Referring back to the board report, overdose occurrences. Fortunate again, we had no overdose occurrences for the month of February and 0 year to date. Victim services. We are seeing here again, for the month of February, we had 43 offers to victim services by individuals we dealt with, 19 of which were accepted. And year to date, we have 100 offered and 34 accepted. And as I spoke to previously as well, our domestic abuse issues investigator, PC Cotter, continues to make inroads with those victims in these situations to help support them and provide the necessary resources to them to make sure that they are getting some supports because of the challenges we're seeing with individuals after the fact. So he's doing a lot of follow-up in that regards, and we hope to increase our numbers over the year. And I have just a few other options here locally. In regards to our CSO media officer, PC Buchert, he prepared 20 media releases for the month of February, of which 57 posts were to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. He also was very active with the pre-plunge videos with members of the community. He's been involved in several meetings regarding Special Olympics as the provincial coordinator, and 2 subjects identified as a result of Crime Stoppers tips. So again, speaking to our traffic management unit, for the month of February, they issued 295 Part 1 charges, totaling 723 year to date. Our Crime Stoppers coordinator, which is PC McIntosh, for the month of February, we had 9 tips for the county, 54 for Brantford, and 2 for Six Nations. So pending any other questions, that would be the report from the Detachment Commander. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure there'll be some good discussion here, so let's open up the floor for some questions and comments. Anybody would like to go? Member Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the inspector. On page 10, there's a trend over the last couple of years with criminal code and provincial statutes going, the stats going down significantly, 19 and 29% or 20%. Any reasons, any comments that you have on that as to why we may be seeing that trend?
Through the chair. Thank you, Member Brown. A lot of our members at Detachment, we were seeing with our staffing numbers are greatly increased over years past. And with the increase in staffing, you're seeing a lot of proactive measures and action taken by our members, as well as the service delivery model, dictating members' accountability on a day-to-day basis. I feel that the detachment is recognizing those challenges we're seeing and is being more proactive in their police work and their patrols. And then in turn, we are seeing the repercussions on some of the lowered offenses here, as well as getting ahead of some of those trends that we have seen in years past. So I think when you put everything together, and the members' ability to provide service to the county, I think that's where we're seeing a reduction in some of the years past occurrences, and the great work that our members are doing locally. Hopefully that answers your question, Brown. Stats wise, I can't speak specifically on exactly the causal factors that are causing those charges to drop, other than the member engagement we're seeing in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree. I think that there's a correlation between the staffing that we have on the street, members on the road, and the stats that we're seeing there. And I think that's a good news story. So I hope that we can continue that on with that in the future, and hopefully we'll continue and see the increases in the staffing levels at the detachment. I also believe it has something to do with the management team that's in place there now too. So that's a good thing. Also on page 10, under criminal code, so you may be able to get into this next month when you're doing your presentation, but it shows 443 under 2025 for Highway Traffic Act offense count. But then when we go down to traffic related charges, there's 218 there. So I'm not sure if that's we're smoothing out the new reports that are coming out, or I don't understand the difference there. So if you can't do it today, I'm good with that for next month.
Through the chair, thanks, Member Brown. So the Highway Traffic Act charges obviously can include many different things. The traffic-related charges, specifically speaking to the Big Four, would be just speeding only. Does that make the sense?
Yeah, it does.
Answer your question for you?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So there's 200 odd other charges in that 443 in addition to the speeding.
That's correct.
Right. Any other questions for the inspector on the report? Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. A couple, if I could. So I'm going to go back to page 10, and when it talks about the traffic-related charges, and you kind of alluded to it earlier in regards to the impaireds. Very unfortunate that they're up. I'm curious, is there a breakdown? Because I know we're ride anytime, so to speak. Is there any breakdown as to how many of these impaireds are actually through a ride program as opposed to just other kind of traffic stops? Is there any sort of indication as to that sort of thing? Like, maybe somebody called, looked like this car was impaired or anything like that. I'm wondering if there's any sort of breakdown between actual impaired charges through ride programs as opposed to, I'll call them normal traffic stops.
Through the chair, thank you, Member Brown, Member Pierce. I looked at that same consideration myself as to if there's some causal factors that we could potentially narrow this window down to see where we need to focus our attention on. And that's something that potentially I could look into moving forward on our board reports if we do see these trends through our analyst as well as our business analyst at West Region headquarters. I can definitely make that inquiry and provide more of a fulsome breakdown to the board.
Okay, yeah, like as I say, I'm just curious as to, and we all know what the importance of the ride programs and stuff like that, but also the importance of just normal stops and citizens alerting us to things and stuff like that. So I'd be curious if there was some sort of breakdown between the two. That'd be appreciated. Thank you. Then we're going to go down to page 12, and it's in regards to the violent crime. When you speak of for year to date, or I guess, whether it's year to date or the other, it's assaults / firearm related offenses. Now, is that two separate things, one of them being assaults and one of them being firearm related offenses, or is that somebody with a firearm assaulting somebody?
Through the chair.
Because that's scary if it is.
Through the chair, Member Pierce, yes, so I did look into this, and all of these occurrences are captured under that category, but are not related to one another. It's either firearms or assaults, or potentially, to your point, an assault involving a firearm. I can tell you here in Brant, I broke down every one of those 15 occurrences we've seen year to date. They are all level 1 assaults with no firearm involved.
Okay, all right, that's good to know, because it gets a little scary when you think of the possibility of 15 assaults potentially using firearms, and it just that breakdown is I think the public would be happy to not happy that there's assaults out there, but happy to see the difference in the two for sure. Okay, I appreciate that. And then one more, if I could, Madam Chair, through you, down on page 13, when it talks about property crime, and when it talks about the theft over 5,000. I know you spoke of vehicle thefts and vehicle recoveries and such like that. Is it fair to suggest that a good number of those or some of those would be vehicle thefts, or is that documented somewhere else? Or is that just like, I'll call it property other than vehicles over 5,000?
Through the chair, Member Pierce, so that category, theft over 5,000, incorporates any property value of $5,000 or more, which would include a motor vehicle based on what is broken down in this current report. Trust me, we don't have a trend here, but across the province, as you know, theft of motor vehicles, especially the high-end vehicles, are on the rise, and we are doing our best to position ourselves to prevent that from happening. So we're not seeing a huge trend here in Brant, but again, be mindful to that category does include everything over $5,000 in total.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then the other one you already spoke to in regards to daily activity reporting patrol hours. I look forward to your presentation in the next meeting or the next one. And one more thing. Nope, that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Well done. Quick questions then for you. You feel like you're on the hot seat? It was a rapid fire from Councillor Pierce. It was great. To Councillor Pierce's point about the impaired driving statistics and breaking that down a little bit further, it would also be interesting to hear some context in terms of other neighboring communities, like trend analysis, like where do we, not that it's any more comforting, but where do we fit within West Region or in neighboring communities, just so that we can put some context to that notion. We know people travel. There are no boundaries, no geographic, like people move all over the place, and I'm sure there's charges being laid for people that aren't necessarily residents of the county as well. But it just would be good to understand the bigger picture, if that's possible. I know this report is very prescriptive in terms of what you can pull and what you can't pull, but just sometimes having that context, and even on other trends, from time to time, it would be interesting, mental health, whatever, just to understand what are other detachments dealing with, or what are they in similar, situations and or not. I'm not sure what others feel about that, but I just find that interesting to know where does Brant sit in comparison to some of our other partners. On page 19, the youth, I think the one thing I will say about this report that I missed from our previous template is the lack of the youth information. So you were able to give us some context, which I really appreciate, from PC Vitalis's work, which sounds like he's pretty busy from the sounds of it. But the new report template is just talking about charges versus like the opportunities for the school presentations and the opportunities for the occurrences that they weren't necessarily charges, but they were still interactions with youth. And you listed a number of various things. And so if I had a wish list, I know this is impossible, but this one page doesn't really help me as a board member understand that context. And I know that you're limited, but maybe that's something Superintendent Doonan can also take back, is just this doesn't help us understand that interaction with youth and the trend analysis with, what we're looking at. I understand we have to use certain data sets, but the other template that we had, I thought was more helpful to us as board member. I'm not sure what others think, but I feel like we're losing a piece of, we've always talked about here about, setting the stage for good relations with our youth community to prevent some of these statistics from being statistics in the future, and to establish those good trusting relationships. And so how do we capture that work? And I know that's maybe part of the service delivery model discussion as well, but how do we capture the good work that is being done through PC Vitalis and other members to show, because it's not just us that read it. Obviously it's a public report and people are seeing this on our website and through this meeting today. And it's just how do we, I guess that's maybe one of the conversations we can all think about for that discussion about the service delivery model, is how do we demonstrate that context of that work that's being done on the proactive side.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yes, moving forward, if the board wishes, I know some of my peers and other detachments are experiencing similar situations that the board is seeing, is that the report doesn't necessarily provide the same sort of context and reporting that we've seen in the past. And that's why I tried to incorporate some of the local trends we're seeing here with PC Fatales. But I could definitely reach out to the. I don't know exactly who provides the report that we're currently seeing, but I definitely could source that individual out and potentially challenge them and see if there's any appetite to changing it. I know specifically that the report is being used across the board, so we do have a standardized reporting procedure, and I don't know whether my report that I provide on additionally to this would help, but I definitely can take your concerns and push that up.
Yeah, and I know, just having sat through some of the OAPSB conversations and the O.P.P conversations, I understand why we have a standardized report for detachments, and I understand it may be changing again in the future with different data collection databases being implemented. But I guess I'm just trying to find that sweet spot between the consistent data, but also having the local contextual flavor of what's happening, and giving it to us verbally is great, but then how do we, this, for example, this report shared with council. So if they're just reading the report, but they don't have all the extra, they might have it in the minutes because Spencer does a wonderful job of tracking everything. But to my point, I guess I'm just trying to, how do we communicate to the community some of that breadth and depth outside of just this hard statistical pieces? And it's probably a rhetorical question more than anything else. I know that we're all challenged with that, trying to figure out what this all looks like. And Councillor Pierce, you want to get in on that too?
I do, and thank you for opening that door, Madam Chair. I've kind of felt it, and it's a double-edged sword, right? Because I like I like what's reported on now. Like it seems to be a broader broader sense of the data. But you're right. It's if I can use the words of generic across the board, which I understand that's kind of where they wanted to go. But a couple things I'm going to pull out of that. Absolutely, it lacks the local flavor, which may be difficult to do at that that regional level, and that might be something. I don't want to put more work on our own detachment, but that might be something that has to be done in each of the attachments. And then I think Inspector Taggart, I appreciate what you were saying there in the sense that some of your peers are kind of feeling the same way about the report. So I'm curious as to, and not that I don't care about all the peers, but if we look at our closest ones, if we look at Norfolk and we look at Oxford, and that sort of like right in our region, that I'm curious to know if we can somehow band together with these other detachments to potentially get some sort of program that'll bring it down to that local level. You know what I mean? So I couldn't agree more with you, Madam Chair, in regards to this. The information is great. Stats are what they are. They're stats. It's the factful information, which is exactly what we want. But I couldn't agree more in the sense that we got to figure out some way to bring it down that level to make it more localized. So thank you.
Through the chair, thank you, Member Pierce. I will take this up, your information that you provided me today, push it through and see what appetite there is to amend what we currently are seeing to reflect some of the requests that the boards have asked for. So leave that with me, and hopefully I'll be able to report on that on the next report.
Sounds good. Thank you for. Yeah. Any other questions or comments for the Inspector McTaggart on the Detachment Commander's report? Seeing none. Anything else then? Inspector McTaggart, you're complete?
Madam Chair, yes, thank you.
So if there's no other questions or discussion, then we will have a motion to receive the Detachment Commander's report for information, please. Member Stryker and Member Brown, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go into item 8, staff reports, and I believe, Cindy, you're on deck with the false alarm statistics report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. So the false statistics report is for the month of January for this year. No, it's only 1 month, but it is showing that there's a bit of a decrease year over year compared to 2024. However, there have been more repeat visits in the month of January, and just digging into that further, It is noted that a lot of those repeat calls was for one property owner. So staff do intend to follow up with that particular property owner, which would be in accordance with the new progressive communications plan that was approved by the board a couple of months ago. There were some questions at the last board meeting about payment for invoices for the false alarms, and most of those have all been paid up with the exception of one. And just noting that the invoices themselves are sent to the property owners. That's all I have on that report.
Thank you. Just a quick question then for you, Cindy. Of the repeat visits, one property accounts for 6 responses during the month of February, but when I read the February line, like 8 is the first time, 3 is the second time, and 1 is a fifth time. Where would 6 be captured? Or is that just one property? Like, is it per property?
Through you, Madam Chair. So yeah, it's for January 2025.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do see that the repeats are showing 4. So there must be some kind of discrepancy in that data.
I wasn't sure if it was tracked like one property, even though it was 6 calls, or yeah, just it doesn't seem to line up with the math.
Yeah, I will circle back to that. But yeah, I can tell you that just digging into it further, I could see that there were, according to the information we were provided through O.P.P, 6 responses to that one so far this year. So,
any other questions on the report? Okay, then.
Hello?
Oh, sorry, Councillor Pierce.
Sorry, I'm down there. You gotta look down there on the TV. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And thanks, Madam Chair. You got the numbers out there before I did. I saw the math really didn't add up there either. And just so Cindy doesn't feel left out and Inspector McTaggart doesn't feel that we're ganging up on him, I got a few questions for Cindy as well. So, so in the progressive communication plan to address the repeat false alarms, and is number 1 there, the potential costs are approximately $1,200. That's fine. And forgive me if we've already discussed this, but does that come out of the money that's collected from these false alarms?
sorry, Councillor Pierce, could you repeat that? I didn't quite catch.
Yep, no worries. So on page 26 of the report, I guess it's the second page of your report, when it talks about our progressive communication plan to address the repeat false alarms. Number 1, I spoke of public education, and it's a price of approximately $1,200. Does that $1,200 come out of the fees that are collected from these false alarms? How does that work? And forgive me if we've already discussed this.
Through the chair, we have not discussed that, and I actually have a meeting later this week with our team to sort of narrow in on that plan and what sort of phases we're going to implement first. But if there are associated costs with that, they would come through the detachment board budget. So somewhere within there, and I would bring that back to the next meeting.
Okay, so that answered my question on the other part of the time frame of the working on the plans to initiate it. So you're going to be working with staff on that. That's fine later this week. So just to back it up a little bit, so if that fee comes out of the Police Services Board budget, remind us again where this money goes that we collect from these false alarm fees.
The false alarm fees are going against the O.P.P service costs. So there's a separate budget for the O.P.P contract, and there's a revenue line where those fees are allocated by our finance group.
Okay, now is it, and sorry, through you, Madam Chair, if I could just add on to that, is that mandated that that's where those have to go?
I don't believe it's mandated, but I could confer with our Treasury group just to confirm that.
If we could, that would be great, because if it's not mandated that it goes there, I would be more than happy to bring forward a motion that when we get onto things like this, like public education and that sort of thing for false alarms, that we take that money out of the false alarms money that's collected. But we'll wait till you come back with how that goes. But again, I think we're in my mind anyway, it should be taken out of the fees that we're collecting for that if we're trying to reduce that. That's kind of where my mind is, but I'll wait till I hear back from you.
Thanks, Councillor Pierce. I couldn't agree with you more. I guess I had the same kind of question when you started that line of thought there. This would potentially be something that we didn't budget for, $1,200, and it would have to come out of our budget. And if there's funds already coming in to respect to the fines, then it's almost an offsetting opportunity, and don't think it should come out of our already lean budget as it is. So if there's an opportunity to use some of the revenue to pay for some of the education, I think I would support that as well. But
yeah, and if I could just one final comment on that, Madam Chair. In my mind, absolutely. If it's not mandated that it has to go to the other, I think we should do it for this. But if it is, I'm still in favor of doing this education thing because I think it's very important. I just want to make that clear, but I just think we can, the funds should be coming out of here if we are able to do that. That's all. Thank you.
Great. We'll let Cindy follow up with us then on that. Any other comments then on the false alarm or the next steps? We'll have Cindy let us know. I think she gets where we're trying to go with all that. So we will ask then for a motion to receive the false alarm statistics report for information. Member Stryker, seconded by Councillor Pierce. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, then Cindy's going to now just give us an overview of the 2025 budget.
Okay. Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. This is a short report to the board with confirmation of the county council's review of the submission for the 2025 budget. The draft budget that was submitted by the board to county council was approved at the end of February, and there were no amendments to what was submitted. As noted in the report, the overall budget for 2025 is $59,239. And this year there was some detail in our budget review on the amounts allocated for various initiatives. There is a one-time amount of $5,000 for the board's sponsorship of the 2025 Special Olympics. There are a couple of accounts that are more general, left to the discretion of the board to determine how the funds are allocated. One being community engagement opportunities and the other community sponsorships, which may come up throughout the year. For the board's information, the report does attach the 2024 year-to-date actuals, noting that the county treasury has not fully reconciled our 2024 accounts yet. It is likely that it is capturing everything, but there's a chance that it may not be. So until that is finalized, it's left where it is. But once the county treasury has indicated that they fully reconciled for last year, I'll bring a report forward just confirming that. But the amount for last year is very close to the amount budgeted, just under. And that's all I have for that report, Madam Chair.
Any questions for Cindy on the budget? Seeing none, we'll do a motion then to receive the report of our 2025 budget. Now know what we have for the year. Motion for that to receive that as information, please. Report.
If anybody's speaking, I can't hear. Can't hear anyone either.
That's because I forgot to turn my microphone on. I'm sorry. I asked if there was anybody that would like to put a motion forward to receive the 2025 budget report, and Member Brown has put the motion forward, and Mayor Bailey has seconded that. Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, let's move into 9. Section 9, communications. We do have a letter here from Special Olympics Ontario, the Brantford Summer Games, requesting our support. And I think to the previous agenda items topic, there was a one-time request made for our budget to support the Special Olympics for $5,000. And then we have the letter here for the formal request for that. And I guess we're also supporting our members who are also contributing their time and efforts to organizing the Special Olympics program as well. And there is, I know there's other things that are happening within the county. Is there, do we need a motion, Cindy, if it's already in the budget?
No, there's no motion.
So we're confirming then that we will sponsor the 5,000 based on what we already have in the budget, and we'll confirm that with this letter. We'll confirm that with the organizers based on this letter. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm wondering if we should have some communication maybe back to the games manager on is there
Recognition.
Is there a recognition associated with that? I'm not quite sure.
For sure.
Of
Yeah.
what the details are with that piece.
So before we confirm, we just want to get the idea of what the recognition would be for the our detachment and the O.P.P. For that sponsorship level.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's still good though with that request? Yep, great. I think that's great too. I'm really happy to see that. Thank you, everybody. So we'll, Spencer and Cindy and I will take care of that back and forth with the organizers to get that recognition. And that's great news. Okay, so then we're moving into section 10. I can, as Acting Inspector McTaggart talked to us earlier, we are part of the Community Safety Wellbeing Planning Committee. In your package is a flyer that has been out on social, has been up in different community facilities. And this is the survey, the community survey that they are looking to get engagement from Brant residents about their perceptions about community safety and well-being. There's also been some pop-up events that they've attended in person to various locations within the county, Paris, Burford, Scotland, and St. George. They're doing some youth-focused events coming up in Burford and Paris, youth being, I believe, 10 years old to 15 years old. And they're trying to get some of their feedback. And then they've got some other focus groups also coming up with different community groups and agencies. So a lot different for those of you that might remember the last time we did this in 2020, 2021, obviously during the pandemic, it was telephone surveys. It was a lot different than what it is now. So I think they've gone out and they're really trying to get a good swath of feedback. If you can also share this within your circles and your networks to make sure that we get as many responses as possible to the survey, that would be great. The 5 priorities that the plan is focusing on moving forward are in that flyer as well. And while obviously it's the county's plan, the O.P.P are very involved in that plan in terms of the outcomes and the priorities and then how that aligns with our local action plans as well. There's been pretty good engagement from most of the groups, the 2 school boards, and some of the other agencies that are part of that committee have been very active. And just recently, Brian, the county staff person, Brian, has collected some written feedback from each of the groups in terms of different strategies and issues and outreach things that each of the groups do to try and get some common threads throughout some of the work that everybody's doing. And then I guess we have the report. The final report has to go to council in June. We're mandated for that update by the end of June by the province. So the final report will go to council at the end of in June for their review and approval. And the committee will see the final report in May. And I think we're doing a session here shortly to kind of look at some of the preliminary results of the survey. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions, but it's been well done. It's been an aggressive 6 months with the work that the county staff have done a great job. trying to get that engagement and from different points of view of the engagement, which I think is great. I don't know, Acting Inspector, if you have anything that you wanted to add to that as well from your perspective, or don't want to put you on the spot, but if you did.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think you've spoken to a lot of the key messaging that needs to go out regarding the update to our community safety and well-being plan, especially those 5 priorities, of which mental health tops the list. So that speaks to a lot of the priorities that we're seeing with our organization through the O.P.P, as well as the need within the county. And we, through those reports that I provide month after month, we're seeing an increase in mental health. So I think this is an opportunity to seize the moment and really push this ahead so we can get those resources and services in place to help our residents in the county. Thank you.
Thanks. I think that from my perspective anyways, one of the things I'm looking forward to that I've heard so far from this committee is they're really looking, when they built the plan, to develop like key priorities, but also strategies and tactics that they might take in the next few years to either lessen or enhance or whatever the priorities might be. And for us in our roles with the Detachment Board, having agencies and services and supports in place for example, mental health and well-being, that only helps the O.P.P and the members with the O.P.P, because then they're not getting the crisis calls necessarily. So if we think of it from that point of view in terms of that proactive measures, that if we have some of these services and agencies and everybody collaborating and kind of focused on some of the same goals, one of the things I think I learned from this is from some other meetings is there's a lot of people in this space doing a lot of great work and probably very underfunded with some of the resources that they need. But there's a real opportunity for alignment here and sharing of resources so that we're all, rowing in the same direction. And so I hope that with this plan and with future plans, we'll be able to see that impact in the future statistics that you present, because we're able to have the supports in place. That's kind of the goal from our perspective with the O.P.P. We'll have, the other thing that I should mention is that the plan from the county's perspective will be that Brian and his team will touch base with us as a board from time to time as to how, once the plan's approved and the implementation of the plan. So they want to come to our board as kind of the touch point of how it's going and what they're learning and what they're seeing. So we'll be the conduit of information on an ongoing basis about how the community safety wellbeing plan's being rolled out and implemented. So once it's ready to go, we're going to have Brian come in and do a presentation to the board as well to give you the review of the results of the surveys and then the priorities and some of the action plans that they have, so that we're informed of that as well. Any other questions on the community safety wellbeing plan? Okay. So then the next agenda item is, I guess, a request. I'll bring that forward. So I attended alongside myself. Inspector Quenville was one of the keynote speakers. And then Michelle Murphy, PC Murphy, who we've met and who works in this space. And then Inspector McTaggart talked about Detective Cotter. Is that his right? It's not PC. It's Detective Constable Cotter is the intimate partner investigator and the one that does some of the follow-up calls. So all 4 of us on behalf of the O.P.P Detachment attended the Nova Vita fundraising, Women's Day fundraising event as well. Mayor Bailey was there and Councillor Oakley was there. There was quite a good contingent there. And so currently we've all paid for that personally, all 4 of us. And so the request to have that reimbursed would be $640 to be reimbursed to each of the 4 of us that I just mentioned. I can tell you, and I don't know, Mayor Bailey can add some comments as well. Inspector Quenville did a fantastic job as the keynote speaker, talking about her experiences as a police officer and working with folks that are vulnerable and the victims of domestic violence. And they really set it up as about being part of the kitchen table, being part of the home, and her and the executive director of Nova Vita was the next speaker, and they somehow tied their speeches together as if it was seamlessly perfect. But I wanted to share with you, I did have a number of opportunities to talk to the various Nova Vita staff at the event, and they were so complimentary about the O.P.P team and about the relationship that they have with the O.P.P team when people are in need and when people are in crisis, and also with the programs and the grants that we've been working with them on, whether that's the newest grant or some of the grants we've already had with them. They just off the cuff were just so thankful for the work that we're doing, and so it was really great to hear back about the positive influence that our members are having with the Nova Vita team, but also with the people that they serve. So that was really great to have that feedback as well. So I did talk to Cindy about this, and because it's not part of our planned budget, it's coming to you as a request. I'm not sure what category necessarily, Cindy, community engagement opportunities perhaps. We do have funds set aside for that. So Spencer has a motion that he has created if anybody is interested in hearing that. But at this time, I guess the request would be that the detachment board reimburse the four of us that attended for that event. Councillor Pierce?
Sorry, so there was yourself, Mayor Bailey,
Mayor Bailey, Mayor Bailey and Councillor Oakley, were registered through the mayor's office, and then but from the detachment registering, I guess, was myself, Inspector Quenville, PC Murphy, and Detective Constable Cotter.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand the format, Madam Chair.
Sorry, what question? Format?
You said that there was the reimbursement would be for 4 of you.
Yeah, so myself, Inspector Quenville, PC Murphy, and Detective Constable Cotter, we personally paid for the event to attend, and we were there on behalf of the detachment. Bringing it forward as an opportunity for community engagement. Mayor Bailey?
Through you, Madam Chair. First of all, guest speakers, keynote speakers never pay for their attendance to the event they're speaking at. So that should have been covered by Nova Vita. Is there no budget left in the police services budget for you people to take that out? I would hate to see it come back to council, just because of the dynamics of council and Nova Vita. It's there's a couple of things that could go off the rails. So it would be great, Cindy, if we could find money. I might even have some left in the mayor's budget. I just don't want it to go back to council because I can see it becoming a much bigger thing than it needs to be.
Cindy?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. There are funds available in the board's budget. I would suggest that if the board would like to reimburse, that it come from the community engagement opportunities line, which has $2,500 in it for the year.
Mayor Bailey?
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to phone Nova Vita and just say that we had our meeting and get the inspector's money back from Nova Vita. If you want me to, I think that's the right thing to do. She was on the docket. She was the only keynote speaker, and as you said, she was relevant. She was good. They loved her, and they would have no trouble picking up her ticket, I don't think.
Yeah, I to your point, I'm not really sure what the arrangements were there. I just know that the 4 folks here ended up paying that fee, which is fine. Happy to have attended and happy to have done that. I just we have never really discussed these types of opportunities before as they come up. So this is maybe an opportunity for us to also think ahead as to other community engagement opportunities that we might want to earmark. But it was as you noted, Mayor Bailey, it was a fruitful opportunity to be there and support an agency that does good work with our members. Member Brown, were you going to?
I'm just looking at the budget. Maybe we have some room moving forward. Should there be a line, and maybe this would be covered under community engagement opportunities, But if something comes up on short notice that we can't come back to the board, should the chair not have the ability of just authorizing something that she'll report back to the board after the fact if it is on short notice? That's not the case in this instance, but do we need to have a motion on absolutely everything prior to, or is there some ability for her to respond to things on short notice?
Taking that question's for me. Through the chair, I certainly think the board could discuss having that approach if you'd like to. In the past, I think a lot of expenses have come through the board as resolutions. We're trying to get away from that. Having the detailed budget this year, it really outlines most of the board's intent around how funds will be spent. But the community engagement opportunities line and the sponsorships line really didn't delve into specifics. But certainly if the board wishes to, have I guess an overall intent of allowing the chair to make those types of decisions, you're free to have that discussion and move forward that way. Right now, all of the expenses in that actually come to myself to sign off on, so I need to ensure that there's been approval and some authority around that.
Mayor Bailey?
Madam Chair, do you want me to approach Nova Vita and see what they say about the inspector? And they might say, they'll pay for all the representatives from the Police Services Board or something. I think because it is new and it doesn't happen very often, let me sort of go at it. I think just trying to understand the format, and whatever they tell me will be the way we will do it. But let me have a go at it first, if you don't mind. Just so that I can report back to the board as to what they were thinking.
Is everybody okay with that? Councilor Pierce? Yep. Thank you, Mayor Bailey. If you can do that, that would be great, and let us know.
Yeah, I'll do that this afternoon.
Okay. So we'll table this item then? We're not approving anything? Defer? Okay. A motion to defer the decision? Okay. So Spencer's advising me that we need to do a motion to defer the decision to the next meeting. Councilor Pierce, Mayor Bailey, all those in favor? Okay, section 11, updates from council. Councilor Pierce, what's new and exciting happening in?
Lots of happenings, that's for sure. But at this point in time, nobody's been waving the flag in front of my face to bring anything back to Police Services Board. So, O.P.P Detachment Board. Correct that. So I've got nothing at this time unless there's anything to take back. I know there was a discussion at our last meeting in regards to us having a discussion in regards to the new photo radar that's been active now for, I guess, going on a couple of months, I guess. But we haven't heard any indications back as to how it's been working and how many violators it has photographed. So I will bring that back to committee as soon as I hear something, and I think it'll be an interesting discussion, I think, and we'll go from there. But that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Zone 4 updates. We continue to restructure the groups. We've had some really good feedback from our Zone 4 members. We have a call this week looking at maybe doing virtual meetings for Zone 4, which would include potential training opportunities. The geographic distances of the zone are pretty big for people to get all over the place, and we have a combination of municipal and O.P.P detachment boards, so there's some opportunities there. That will be open to all board members, not just the one person from each board. There is another meeting on May 7th. I don't remember where it is with OAC. It's a combined meeting with OACP, Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police for Zone 4. I will not be at that meeting, unfortunately. One of the challenges is that the OACP picks the dates, but they don't coordinate that with the OAPSB folks, so they don't always align for people's availability. So that's one of the things we are discussing, is how do you still collaborate, but then also continue on. And I've met with a couple of the other zone representatives, and there's a lot of really good speakers out there that we could tap into virtually on the larger issues that we all would benefit from learning from. So more coming on that, just trying to get us rebuilt and restructured. I'll just move into the chair's update. As I mentioned, we attended the Nova Vita event, and I thought that was very worthwhile. I do think in talking to Inspector Quenville and in talking to Acting Inspector McTaggart, there are potentially opportunities like that in the future, in the year ahead, where that is really good positive community engagement and where we have good outreach in terms of those relationship buildings. And so I do think there'll be other opportunities that may arise that we will hopefully be able to proactively bring to the board ahead of time. But that's just another piece of our communication strategy as a board and as the O.P.P. in terms of being out and about in the community and hearing directly from our folks in terms of the needs. So I do think that was a really beneficial opportunity to be at. And then you've heard about the community safety well-being meetings and the work that's being done there. And then lastly, Mayor Bailey sent me an invitation. I attended a roundtable with Member of Parliament Larry Brock, who is, I guess now not my Member of Parliament anymore with the changes to the ridings, but he's still Brantford's and Mount Pleasant's and part of the southern part of the county's MP. Anyways, I attended a roundtable with him and some other folks in Brantford on bail reform and criminal justice reform, and just having a general conversation. The Crown Attorney's Office was there, Brantford Police Service was there, Nova Vita was there, SOAR, Victim Services, and a couple of other representatives just having a brainstorming session about some of the challenges and some of the opportunities. And again, similar to the Community Safety Wellbeing Planning Committee meeting, listening to some of the service agencies. There's a real struggle out there. There's a lot of people trying to do a lot of the same things, not necessarily in a bad way, but there's a lot of people doing a lot of the same things. It's like the duck swimming. You don't see the duck's feet going. You just see them smoothly gliding along. And I think one of the things we all kind of came to the conclusion of is, we're trying to solve today's problems on yesterday's dollars. And it's not helping some of these groups with trying to figure out how they're going to have the resources. And surviving on grants is not proactive. Surviving and going from day to day on grant money to grant money is not helping them create long-term solutions. A lot of the discussion was Brantford centric, obviously, with some of the challenges that they're facing in Brantford. But we know what happens there can also impact us in the county. But we also did talk about some of the challenges between the federal and provincial government with criminal justice and those types of things, and then how that is impacted provincially. And so I think there's some opportunities there for some alignment, but there's now a federal election, so we'll see what happens. So it was good to still be part of the conversation. So I did attend that as well. And then other than that, I will leave that unless there's any questions for me of any of the items I reported on. I'm staying busy on your behalf. Okay, so then with that, I don't believe, unless there's anything else, I don't believe we have anything on our agenda other than we have our in-camera session. So at this time, we need to have a motion to go in camera. And Spencer, do we need to read anything out loud for that one? Yes. Oh.
Through the chair. So the motion we would be looking for it to go in camera is that the County of Brant O.P.P. Detachment Board convene in camera to discuss Section 44.2G, information explicitly supplied in confidence to the board by Canada, a province or territory, or a Crown agency of any of them regarding regional operational matters.
Mayor Bailey, you're prepared to make that motion? Thank you. Seconded by Member Stryker. All those in favor? And that's carried. Good to go. All right, so we're back out here in open session now. Our last item on the agenda is our next meeting. It is Tuesday, April 22nd. And I guess just if I could ask everybody, if you could, I appreciate Councillor Pierce let us know this morning, and Member Boudreau wasn't sure if he was going to be able to join today or not. But if you, it just helps with my frame of mind in terms of remembering there's people on screen or not on screen, or if you're going to be hybrid or not. If you could just send a quick message to Spencer so we know who's online, who's in person. I know that Member Stryker will be online next meeting, which is the great thing about technology, that you can connect where you need to be, but that's helpful. But we are meeting again on April 22nd. We do know we'll have that presentation from Acting Inspector McTaggart. We'll see where that goes from that. But any other agenda items, please forward to Spencer. And otherwise, we will adjourn here today at 10:43, and we'll see you all at the end of April.